Good morning and welcome to On the Spot News right here on Zimbabwe Daily. My name is Grace Kajge. Let's take a look at the news making the headlines. Magaisa declared national hero. Chamisa's popularity surges ahead of Crunch poll 48% back opposition Triple C party. Former judge heads for Supreme Court over car. No crisis in Zimbabwe. EU red flags government on abductions. And in sports, SRC approves Banda's appointment as interim ZIFA president. Mapeza bemoans short PSL break. Now the news in details. Civil society organizations Wednesday declared the late Morgan Tsvangirai's advisor, Alex Tawanda Magaisa, a national hero. Addressing journalists in Harare, the secretary of the Constitutional Law Center, CLC, Dzikamai Bere, said there have been dedicated 5 days of mourning in honor of Magaisa. A lot of activities have also been lined up for that period. The majority of Zimbabweans now trust the Nelson Chamisa-led Citizens Coalition for Change, the country's fortunes more than the ruling ZANU-PF party. A Mass Public Opinion Institute MPOI survey has revealed. Disseminating the survey findings in Bulawayo on Tuesday, MPOI principal researcher Stephen Ndoma said 48% of respondents say they trust Triple C, while 44% indicated that they trust ZANU-PF. According to the survey outcome, 71% of those who responded also indicated that they trust the religious and traditional leaders more than their elected leaders. About 55% of the respondents said they also trusted the army, commenting on the outcome of the survey. Triple C Bulawayo Province spokesperson Swithen Chirowoza said the survey results prove that Triple C is now the biggest party in the country. Parliament slammed the government's excessive interference in the operations of the Zimbabwe Revenue Authority, ZIMRA, and local authorities across the country. In a report on the state of affairs at ZIMRA, Budget and Finance Parliamentary Committee Chairperson Matthew Nyashanu said the tax authority must be given autonomy to run its affairs. Nyashanu said the Ministry of Finance should allow the ZIMRA board to make critical decisions on staff recruitment, remuneration without interference, but within the confines of the budget. He also said the Ministry of Finance must give autonomy in the real sense to the board to run the affairs of the authority as entrenched in the Act. Former High Court Judge Erica Ndewere has filed an application at the Supreme Court to stop the Judicial Service Commission (JSC) from seizing her service vehicle. High Court Judge Justice Samuel Deme has ordered Ndewere to surrender the vehicle to the sheriff for safekeeping until her application challenging her dismissal from the bench is finalized. Deme also directed the sheriff to forcefully seize the Mercedes-Benz vehicle if Ndewere refuses to voluntarily surrender it. The JSC had filed an urgent chamber application seeking authority to repossess the vehicle following her dismissal for gross incompetence. But Ndewere appealed against Deme's ruling at the Supreme Court. In her court papers, Ndewere argued that she was entitled to purchase the vehicle in terms of her employment contract. Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube has said all is well in Zimbabwe and dismissed claims that the Southern African country is in the throes of an economic crisis. Some businesses are rejecting the local currency, preferring the United States dollar to hedge against a repeat of the 2008 disaster when the country docked a global record breaking hyperinflation rate of 500 billion%, which drove many businesses into bankruptcy. The country's year-on-year inflation is now ranked as one of the highest in the world alongside war-torn countries such as Syria after it shot to 131% in May, up from 96% recorded in April. Late last year, Syria's inflation stood at 150%. International inflation trackers, however, believe Zimbabwe's official 135 inflation rate is understated, placing it at 256 instead. But Ncube insisted there was no reverting back to dollarization, saying the country will face a crisis of unimaginable proportion and cash shortage if it returns to 2009 dollarization scenario. The European Union (EU) has urged Zimbabweans to earnestly look into the issue of enforced disappearance and bring the culprits to book. Okoken's concern on enforcement disappearance came as Citizens Coalition for Change member Mo Blessing Ali disappeared on May 24 after she was reportedly bundled into a car by ZANU-PF mob in Chitungwiza. Police, however, released a statement saying Ali's disappearance had nothing to do with the politics, but was a personal matter between her and her former boyfriend, Pius Jamba. Okoken said the country was also failing to implement electoral reforms recommended by the EU Elections Observer Mission after the 2018 elections. Meanwhile, during a documentation project launched yesterday by the Zimbabwean Human Rights Commission (ZHRC) in Harare, Okoken criticized electoral violence, saying warning signs were already there ahead of next year's elections. FastJet Zimbabwe yesterday introduced a second daily flight service from Victoria Falls to South Africa's OR Tambo International Airport, Johannesburg. The airline recently introduced flights between Victoria Falls and Mbombela, Kruger, and Mpumalanga International Airport and Mon in Botswana effective. The latest service will operate every day using the airline's 50-seater Embraer regional jet ERJ-145 aircraft. FastJet Zimbabwe spokesperson Nunurai Ndawana said the daily service will boost the continued resumption of tourism and other trade activities in the resort town. We will cross over to sports news. The Sports and Recreation Commission (SRC) has announced the outcome of the Zimbabwe Football Association (ZIFA) Extraordinary General Congress has held on 23 April 2022. In a statement on Wednesday, 8 June 2022, SRC Board Chairman Gerald Mhlotshwa said the suspension of Barbara Chikosi, Farai Jere and Sugar Chagonda have been lifted with immediate effect. Chikosi, Jere and Chagonda as Zimbabwe Women's Soccer League chairperson, Premier Soccer League chairman and ZIFA board member in charge of competition in that order. Mhlotshwa also revealed that BDO chartered accountants have commenced their forensic audit into the financial and operational affairs of ZIFA. FC Platinum coach Norman Mapeza has slammed the Premier Soccer League (PSL) decision to take only a 2-week break, saying a longer break would have been ideal. The Top Flight League management announced that the league would take a 2-week break after the weekend games and resume on June 25. And in other news, Chris Rock, 57, and Dave Chappelle, 48, have announced a joint stand-up comedy show in London just weeks after both comedians were attacked on stage while performing. The show will take place on September 3 at the 02 Arena, but tickets will go on sale for general public on June 10. The controversial comedians have set an age limit at their event, only welcoming guests 18 years and above. To end this news bulletin, we will take a look once more at the main headlines. Magaisa declared national hero. Chamisa's popularity surges ahead of Crunch poll. 48% back opposition Triple C party. Former judge heads for Supreme Court over car. No crisis in Zimbabwe. EU red flags government abductions. And in sports, SRC approves Bandas appointed as interim ZIFA president. Mapeza Bimon's short PSL break. Thank you so much for listening. Tune again tomorrow.